The purpose of the video workshop is to demonstrate online training. We'll talk about writing, and we'll talk about using short words. Please make sure you have a copy of the handout for the workshop. The handout looks like this. The handout is a key to the workshop. If you don't have a copy of the handout, please pause the video, find the handout, print the handout, use the handout. It will help. We'll start with a question. The question is, why do so many folks use big words? We think it's because so many folks think that using big words make them sound smarter, make them sound more intelligent, make them sound more educated. We respectfully disagree. No, big words don't make you sound smarter. They make you sound pompous. The greatest communicators of all time used short words. For example, Julius Caesar used short words. I came, I saw, I conquered. Franklin Roosevelt used short words. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Ronald Reagan used short words. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. They used short words because short words are easier to understand and faster to understand. Consider the exercise on the front of the handout. Let's share some background about the exercise. The exercise begins with Martha Clark. Martha was a customer at a local bank. Late one evening, she was reviewing the checks in her bank statement. In that statement, she found two checks that clearly and obviously weren't hers. They didn't look like hers. They weren't in her handwriting. She hadn't written those checks. Someone had forged the checks against her account. She reported the checks to the bank investigated, and the bank wrote a report. The passage on your screen and the passage on the front page of the handout is from that report. The passage is real. The only thing that we've changed is Martha Clark's name. Let's try to read the passage. Clark asserted that her identification had been stolen during a vehicle burglary that occurred at her place of residence, and she further conveyed that she had not done this transaction. That is a mouthful. It's not easy to read. It's not easy to follow. It's not easy to understand. It has a fog index of 20. The fog index is the number of years of education required to understand the passage. In other words, you'd have to have 20 years of education to understand this passage. That's 8 years past high school. That's 4 years past your bachelor's degree. The fellow who invented the fog index was named Robert Gunning. He said that any index over 16 was unreadable. That means that this passage is unreadable. Let's see what we can do. Let's rewrite. Let's begin at the beginning. First of all, Clark asserted. Asserted isn't really conversational. People don't say asserted. Let's get rid of asserted and write in said. More conversational, more normal, more natural. Next, identification. Let's get rid of identification and write in ID. Much shorter. ID, identification, ID, same. Had been stolen during a vehicle burglary that occurred at her place of residence. I have a question for you. Is this level of detail necessary? Are these details necessary? Probably not, especially and a report about forged checks. What may be important is, yes, had been stolen. Let's keep had been stolen, but let's get rid of during a vehicle burglary that occurred at her place of residence. It's just flat out unnecessary. We also believe that she further conveyed is unnecessary. We know this is Clark's statement. Why should we repeat ourselves? Let's get rid of she further conveyed. Last, she had not done this transaction. What transaction? What transaction are we talking about? She hadn't cashed the checks. That's what she hadn't done. So tell you what, instead of she had not done this transaction, let's simply write she hadn't cashed the checks. That's what we mean. That's the important stuff. Let's take a look at what we've done. Clark said that her ID had been stolen and that she hadn't cashed the checks, with a fog index of 6. 6. 6. We've reduced the fog index by more than 2/3. The numbers make the statement. In the original, there are 30 words and 6 long words. In the rewrite, there are 15 words and no long words. The rewrite is faster to read and faster to understand. Please turn to the back of the handout. 2 weeks from now, or 6 months from now, you may have questions, or you may have forgotten some things that you'd like to remember. That's when the back of the handout will come in handy. Please use the 2 blank lines to write down 2 things. First, 1-801-661-0200. If you were to dial that number right now, my cell phone would ring. I would answer it. You could ask questions. I would answer your questions 24/7 from now until forever. Second, Kurt, K-U-R-T. Well, I don't need to spell it out. Kurt at jeffsmith.com. That's my email address. If you would like me to look at a document, look at a paragraph, look at a sentence, send me an email. I will answer your email. We love this stuff. Okay. What are your questions? Whoops. You can't ask questions. Well, actually you can if you call me or if you email me. This ends our time together. This ends our workshop together. Thank you for being here. Stay in touch.